Willie D Live.
What's up, family? If it's your first time checking out the show, let me know what city, what state you're coming in from. If you're outside of the U.S., let me know what country you're representing. Throw up your flag. Family, I need you to smash up the like, smash up the like, smash up the likes. Also, if you have not done so already on YouTube, after you subscribe, there's a little bell next to your subscribe button. Go ahead and click that thing right now so you can get your notifications each time I drop a new video like this. That way you'll be in the loop. I'm going straight in, fam. Questions still surround exactly how Nolan Wells died and whether drowning alone explains the available findings. So today, clinical nurse specialist Charles T. Folsom Jr., better known as Nurse Charles, joins us to discuss what medicine can and cannot tell us about drowning deaths. And there's the good man, Nurse Charles, right there. Hey, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Willie, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. It's my honor, man. Your IG is on fire. You can't miss it, man. You can't miss it. I like that consistency also, and I like the way that you cover the various topics. You really like a layman. You really help to explain it to where we can understand things, you know, because y'all be using terms like dermatopodology and all these things. Why do they have to make the damn words so long, man, and complex?
Well, the issue is medicine is quite complex, and healthcare in general can be complex, and we have to have specific terms for specific things. So I guess they ran out of names and they started making variations of them. But they get quite complex. We take a number of courses like medical terminology that takes forever.
Yeah. So let's get right into it, man. These questions about Nolan Wells' death, man. Some people saying that he drowned, other people saying ain't no way that boy drowned.
Yeah.
So what does a true drowning death typically look like medically?
So I work in the emergency department. My background, I've been an ER nurse 37 years, worked in the ICU, Grady Hospital, whole bunch of them, right? Mm-hmm. And what we know in drowning victims, there's a number of ways you can drown, but what we know is that if a person is alive when they go underwater and they do inhale water, that water ends up in your lungs. Mm-hmm. So a number of things that we'll see immediately is we'll see a lot of times they have laryngospasms when they go under, but when they actually demise, when they're unalive, you'll see the blood vessels around their eyes will be bursted because of the strain that it puts on the body. Mm-hmm. So imagine being underwater and you're straining because you're holding your breath for such a long period of time. That strain demonstrates, and you'll see their blood vessels burst. We also see what's called a release of protein a lot of times in patients that drown, because when the protein in the lungs breaks down, it starts to create a foam. Now, foam is always there, but in most cases it will be. So when a person does drown, you'll see the water takes them under immediately, especially in fresh water.
Can a body entering the water mimic drowning?
What do you mean?
Can a body entering the water after death mimic drowning?
A water going to the body after death? Yes, it can, but the body won't do it itself, if that's what you mean. But when you see that happen, if a person is unalived, when they enter the water, you won't see a lot of water in the lungs because they're no longer breathing. Mm-hmm. So what I'm discussing is at the alveolar level, where the actual oxygen exchanges in your lungs from your blood into your bloodstream, we see water. That is highly abnormal. Mm-hmm. And we see the water, the algae, the bacteria of the water that you reside in. So if you're in fresh water and there's bacteria or there's any type of materials in that water, we'd see that same material in your lungs because you inhaled it. But a person that is already demised prior to entering the water, you would not see water in their cellular level because they can't inhale. They wouldn't have had the ability to inhale the water.
Could there be like small amounts of water?
You might see it in their mouth and their throat, but you wouldn't normally see it in their lung space, not in the volume that we see when a person actually goes underwater and they have to inhale the water because they no longer have access to air.
Is it a way that can be manipulated? Is there a way that somebody could actually, after postmortem, put water in the lungs?
No. That would, there's a couple of things with this case that is difficult to kind of decipher, right? So I'm not a forensic pathologist. I'm a nurse who hands cases off to the ME. That's what we do, right? The thing is that when the second autopsy was requested, all of the necessary pieces to make a definitive determination were not there. Right? So if I sell you a car without an engine, you don't have, you can't, it ain't gonna move. So essentially when they handed the body off, all of the essential pieces to make any type of determination about whether or not he actually drowned versus there being another mechanism of death had already been eliminated because the rest of his body was totally intact. And you got to remember a couple things. Initially, he's going to, if he passed away on the 6th and he was found on the 6th, the second autopsy wasn't done for a while back. And you're going to go through a ton of cellular decompensation of his body. So in many cases, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to even look into his cells and determine if something happened that wasn't picked up on the first.
Can an autopsy definitively prove drowning?
Oh, mechanism of death, yes. Yeah, the first autopsy, and I think that's what causes some trepidation within the community is that the historical issues African Americans have had in the state of Mississippi, right? And then you add in that the state of Mississippi followed a procedure that they have the right, and it's common to keep certain pieces of a body if they're being investigated. So if the muscles around the neck, the hyoid bone, which we know would demonstrate for the second autopsy, blunt trauma or strangulation, those were removed. That's part of the process for the first autopsy, but it would have to be defined that they were investigating it. And the issue for us is that none of that information has been released, which is all within the rights of the state of Mississippi not to release that and take it to a grand jury. We just have a historical understanding that sometimes bad things happen in the state of Mississippi or have historically, and we might be combining that with a lack of transparency or information from the state, which is within their right, because that might be their investigative process.
Yeah.
And it's causing us angst, and we're going, hey, something's going on because they're hiding it. And according to the DA, they're saying they do this with every case. I'm not sure about that because I'm not a lawyer either. But I know everybody has a policy or a standard that they follow for managing these types of events. And because the public is not being made aware of it, and because of the historical circumstances, I think it causes us to have some big questions, especially in an 18-year-old staying, and this is the speculative stuff, right? This is the stuff that came out early with them telling people that, he stayed on the island with a girl. Well, what man do you know at 18 years old going to stay on the island with a girl and not keep his phone?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we are suspicious. Mississippi, I want to talk to y'all directly. All you Mississippi officials out there. I want to talk to y'all directly because I know y'all be ear hustling. We don't trust you. We do not trust you. And the fact that it's taking y'all this long to provide that autopsy findings and to give us that toxicology report, the official toxicology report, is very telling. I wouldn't be surprised if y'all are the ones responsible for putting a fake toxicology report out there just to cause confusion. This is how much we do not trust y'all whatsoever. So what I think that y'all should do is come together, since y'all want to bring the community together and y'all want it to be all peace and love.
Yeah.
Get together and start being transparent. Hold each other accountable. Like everybody hold everybody accountable, and somehow, some way, maybe Mississippi can rise again. Right now, y'all are at the bottom. Y'all are the gum at the bottom of the American collective shoe. Okay? I want y'all to understand that we do not trust y'all. Now, are y'all going to just continue to be arrogant and defiant and say we're Mississippi and we do things like we want to do it and we don't care what you think? Or are y'all really interested in being part of the union? Let me know. I need to know ASAP. I also need to know this, Nurse Charles.
Mhm.
And don't fault me for this, man, because I'm just a layman. I'm just like everybody else.
No,
I'm
no, 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 no.
not in this game. You know, I don't do what you do. I don't have your skill set. What I need to know is, can somebody die? Can somebody have can somebody die of drowning without water in their lungs?
Yeah, it's true. Laryngospasms can cause that.
Oh, I thought I was way off on that. I thought, okay, so
yeah,
okay,
that can happen.
okay.
But you know, once again, people use language and things to kind of confuse people and discombobulate people and go, well, he drowned, but he didn't drown from water. You know, there's special circumstances with that kind of stuff, and it wouldn't randomly just be an 18-year-old near some water who drowned from not having water. So, and that's my worry, is that there's so much misinformation being given out. Like I people posting stuff like, you know, his alcohol level was, you know, he was intoxicated. Well, that's not a mechanism of death. So that might mean he might have been impaired, but that's not a mechanism of death. So that's not a declaration of how he died. But because to the general public, we get confused by that and we go, oh, he was drunk, so that he caused his own death. And those are the assumptions that language can have on people. And that's why we have to be very careful with what's being given out. And I see people putting, we call it spin, you know, they put things out to distract us from looking at the real processes and the real clinical implications of what actually should have occurred. So if he physically drowned from the water and he just fell into the water and drowned, you know, we would see that fluid in his lungs. And we don't know if that may have actually been the mechanism of death, but because it's not been released to the public, we live in frustration.
Right.
Now, one thing that does concern us is that on the second autopsy, Dr. Mitchell saw that there was a band across the back of his head that was reddened and looked bruised. So there's two different components of that, you know, you kind of got to discuss. To a regular person, when a person is post-mortem, which means after they've died, blood is going to pool. So if they're on their back, blood is going to pool to those areas, and it'll go away from the anterior surface down to wherever their gravity is just going to pull that blood down. To a regular person, they'll see that and say, oh, he was bruised and he was hurt. But Dr. Mitchell clarified that when he did the second autopsy, and he said, listen, this is done at a cellular level. They look at the historical decomposition of the cells to determine if that bruise existed prior to. So they've already made that one determination. But it would have been a clearer picture on the drowning piece if, you know, you've got so much decomposition of those cells, and then you've got those muscles around the neck and the hyoid bone missing. Those clearly would have shown, if they had shown any type of bruising or injury or inflammation that they can determine prior to his death, that would have been an indication that he suffered some type of blunt trauma or suffered strangulation prior to his demise.
And we're talking about the throat now, but what about those lungs? What can the lungs tell us about a person's final moments?
Well, the lungs tell the story if they inhaled it, if they inhaled the water. That's the biggest piece, is did he inhale large volumes of water? And when you inhale large volumes of water, your body sinks immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait, it sinks immediately. Now, once your body starts to decompose within about 24 to 48 hours, it comes back to the surface because your body builds up so much gas from your cellular deterioration. But initially, those lungs tell the whole story. The problem is that when it's handed over in that period of time, the decomposition of the cells itself and the body itself, it would have been extremely difficult for them to determine what really and truly happened. That's why they're dependent upon the state to be able to show, hey, we saw that he died from accidental drowning, and but it still wouldn't explain this on the back of the head. And he could have, injured himself or something prior to that, but that's the part that we don't know.
And how does decomposition complicate the drowning diagnosis?
Well, it doesn't. It just means that he died on the 6th, and when he died on the 6th, his cells no longer got oxygen in blood, so they start to deteriorate, start to break down. All these proteins and gases come out, and your body's chemistry changes. And the longer it's out, and the longer it takes to do that second autopsy, and you got to remember, the first one was done extremely thoroughly, I would assume, and that's a large portion of manipulating the body. So what you get left is going to be more difficult to be able to manage and to diagnose. So the longer it's out, the more deterioration you'll get, the harder it'll be to be able to do that determination.
See, I'm not so sure that was a thorough examination done.
Well, I wasn't there, so I can't tell you either.
Well, I just, like I told you earlier before we went live, I'm a numbers man. I believe in numbers. I'm an odds man, right?
Yeah.
So what are the odds that this person who has been accused time and time again of dropping the ball with autopsies and delivering autopsies that people have questioned, families of loved ones have questioned time and time and time again.
Yeah.
These bodies are coming into our office, and these people are suspected of being murdered. And time and time again, she comes up with findings like undetermined and suicide. She even had one where a Black guy had 2 broken legs, but somehow, some way, he hung himself, and she ruled it a suicide.
Yeah.
So I believe, let me correct myself. She either ruled it a suicide or undetermined. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So many of her cases are suicide, undetermined, when white people are suspected of killing Black people, and they can't really prove it one way or the other. Want to prove it one way or the other. The family can't get the answers they want. I do not trust this ME. I do not trust this ME whatsoever. So I don't even know if she's qualified to actually be a medical examiner, because, well, I guess by Mississippi standards, she's qualified, because from what I understand, that the bar is really, really low to become a coroner in Mississippi.
Yeah.
That part right there, I would have never guessed, but it seemed like you don't have to have much education or much experience to become a coroner in the state of Mississippi. I don't trust her. I don't trust that the body had a thorough examination this time, and I don't trust that she thoroughly examined the bodies in the past. If she did, I don't believe that her findings were thorough. I don't believe that she listed those findings thoroughly.
Yeah, I've read a few things about that. I can't verify any of her credentialing. The state does have a standard minimum requirement that she has to meet for licensure and stuff like that, and I'm sure there's a number of certifications she got to renew. I have seen a few of those. I think it's since 2008. There might have been 8 of them that were, questionable, and we've seen a few of these kind of come back, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. People have made plans to take vacations and stuff, kids in college, and ended up being ruled a suicide. Doesn't make a whole bunch of sense, because people don't plan vacations and pay for vacations that plan to kill themselves. Not usually. But once again, that's a state legislative, state regulatory issue, and that's where the citizens have got to demand a higher standard or higher quality of outcomes from her. And that's and prayerfully, hopefully the FBI being down there will be able to get everything clarified. Whether whatever the outcome was, we just want to be transparent about it and be able to get it. And I know the FBI is a little different than it was in the past as well.
What injuries would immediately raise your suspicions about trauma before death?
Well, in this case,
specifically a drowning death.
Oh, any type of head or neck injury, and it could tell the story in either way. Because you could get a head injury, be unconscious, and fall into the water, and your mechanism of death would still be drowning because you were alive when you hit the water.
Right.
But then we'd have to determine if you were still conscious and being able to move and all that kind of stuff in order to enter the water. But you know, when they do the cellular, when they examine stuff at a cellular level, they'll be able to see that. But that's the reason why autopsies take so long, is because they're doing cellular histograms and stuff on this stuff, on what's inside of the cells, and that stuff has to be sent off and verified by other pathologists. So that's one of the reasons why the Mississippi autopsy took a period of time, is that they have to send a lot of that stuff off, and that's just the process for any ME. That wouldn't be just Mississippi.
Yeah. So, in regards to Mississippi, once again, it is my belief that the reason the autopsy took so long is because somebody was doing some doctoring and cooking the books. That's right. I said it. I don't trust y'all. I don't trust you as far as I can throw you. You got a sordid history of not giving justice to grieving families. I don't trust you. Yeah. You're going to have to do more than that. I'm not going to automatically all of a sudden just start trusting a person who has a history of not being trusted. I'm not going to do that. You got to prove, you got to show me something different, man. Yeah. I got to see something different. You know, I want to know, I want to know how important are the throat and the neck structures in determining what happened.
Oh, it's that in this particular case, it's everything. Because he had no other injuries. He had no other fractures. His body was totally intact. He didn't have any abrasions or scratches other than the pooling in the back of the head. And that's, you know, it's easy to kind of speculate that he might have had some, you know, anterior issues because he had the back issue. Mm-hmm. But without definite proof, you're a numbers guy. There's no way for us to tell it. And there would be no way for Dr. Mitchell to be able to determine that on the second autopsy, because it was kept for evidence. So what we can do is hope, and once it's released to the grand jury, they'll give reasoning why they kept the front of his throat, which is the muscles and the hyoid bone. Because if you have any type of blunt trauma or strangulation to that hyoid bone, it moves, it becomes dislocated, dislodged, or it can fracture. Because it's a fragile little bone. Mm-hmm. But any type of injury to your neck, that would be one of the immediate things that we'd see.
What's your gut on this, man? What's your gut? And I know you got to keep it professional, but I mean, you still get to have an opinion about something, don't you? You got to have an opinion. Like, what's your gut on this?
So from a non-clinical, just my personal. This is my personal. This is not my clinical. I see a young 18-year-old kid that is a very handsome young man. He's a great student. He's articulate. He's athletic, and he has a lot of opportunities other people don't have. And I see him towering above everybody else. And it's difficult to be the guy in the room going and picking the sweetest piece of fruit in the orchard without some jealousy or something coming into play. So you can't rule. I would never make a determinate judgment of people's motivations, but I just think the information that we don't have makes me as anxious as a lot of other people. Just with the history that I know of growing up in the South and the states like Mississippi. That Mississippi was one of the top, I think it might have been the top lynching state from the 1870s to the 1950s. Just, you know, public lynchings was just a big part of the history of that state. And that's a huge stain and a huge psychological impact to try to overcome, especially in African Americans. Because you got to remember, we carry much of our trauma in our DNA. It's epigenetics. We carry 14 generations on each side of that trauma they experienced in our own blood code, in our bodies. And then you add chronic stress exposure, which is, you know, all of the stresses that we see in life, microaggressions at work, not having a good relationship with police, not having a historical good relationship with healthcare systems. Because you got to remember, the Tuskegee experiment did a job on the way that we think about healthcare as African Americans, has a profound effect on the way that we believe. And the Tuskegee experiment finished in 1977, and then HIV comes out in 1981. A lot of us put parallels together like that and go, wow, that's really suspicious that 4 years later we study the tracking of STDs over decades in African Americans, and now we have a disease that is propelled through sexual transmission as one of the major vehicles for it. So I'm a black and white guy because I'm going to be a nurse scientist. So the data does not give me enough information for a definite clinical conclusion, but just based on what I know historically and what I've seen, yeah, I got a lot of the same questions that the general public has, not just black folks, the general public, because there's a lot of people out there questioning.
That's right. That's right. And that's important that you said that it's not just black people who are coming to the conclusion. They might try to make it seem like that, but that is not the case.
No.
There are a lot of people speaking up on this and speaking out, and who are very suspicious of the findings or the lack of findings.
Yeah.
They are extremely suspicious. Let's say both autopsies are compared. You got the independent autopsy on one side, and you have the state's official autopsy on the other. Let's say they come back with different viewpoints. Which one would matter most?
The first one, because the second one's going to be done after the body's decomposed for a period of time. Now, many of the findings should be similar, but that first autopsy is going to have a lot of weight on it because it was the first viewing and the first manipulation of the body.
Let me ask you this: How frequently do you guys come across corrupt coroners?
I mean, that's a state's question. Yeah, that's a law question. I don't, I pass bodies off to the ME. I don't study whether or not they're corrupt.
Hey, I had to shoot my shot, man. I had to shoot my shot, like, because I'm just saying, man, like, if we're dealing with a corrupt coroner, if we're dealing with a corrupt medical examiner, like, then they can manipulate the findings. They can manipulate what the public sees. So I would say that, I hear what you're saying, that the first one would matter the most. But if the first one matters the most and the first one has been doctored, if the first one has been tainted, then we're up shit creek, bro.
But that's a system issue, because you got to remember, a big history of America is, we encounter conflicts and we might not come out on the winning end, but we march. So if the only consequence of us having interactions that we lose in is us marching, then, how can you complain? Yeah, we're marching. We're marching, we're doing the same old stuff we've been doing.
Yeah.
So the outcome is going to be the same, and people, and this has historically been done for hundreds of years. So this is not new. This is not new. Emmett Till whistled at a lady, I guess, or he was accused of it. This is not new.
Based on the publicly available information, what evidence would you have to see before being convinced, absolutely convinced, that Nolan Wells drowned?
I mean, if he had a clean autopsy where they demonstrated he had fluid, that water that he was in, that beach water in his lungs or sand or anything like that, that would be the mechanism of death. Now, I don't know. There'd be no way for us to determine what happened beforehand without the rest of that information, because the rest of the body is clean.
Mhm.
The rest of the body is clean. Outside of that bruising on the back of his head, and it's a significant amount back there, that Dr. Mitchell did determine, they don't know what the cause of that bruising was, but it was clearly there.
Mhm.
But without having anything on that anterior to kind of show balance or show that there was a mechanism there, it's going to be difficult. That's just the facts.
Nolan Wells had several friends on that boat that he was traveling with on the 4th of July.
Mhm.
Which one of them you think killed him?
I don't. I don't. I ain't got enough evidence. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have enough evidence.
Hey man, come on, man. Come on, Charles. Give me something, man. Give me. Just throw it out there, man. You can say it, man.
No, I don't know. I don't know enough about the case even to. I just know about the clinical piece of it. I know about the pieces that were missing from the ME, and I know that the state of Mississippi did an autopsy, or they said they did an autopsy, and that all the information is sealed. I just don't want us to put ourselves into the frustration builds because we don't have the information. And who I feel sorry for is his mother, because a mother can't grieve a child. I did a video on this months ago, that the mothers can't grieve a child. His mother's on social media and doing stuff, and people were criticizing. I'm like, listen, she's doing the best she can. She cannot grieve the loss of her child. She can't even process it.
Man, that just underscores how we as Americans are walking amongst the uncivilized demons. It has to be something demented, something. You have to be a devil's advocate to attack a grieving, not just mother, but father too. People oftentimes leave out the father, but the father, I would even say, has an even greater burden. And the reason why I say that is because the father has the burden of losing his child and being the protector. The mother has the burden. She has the maternal burden of losing this child that she birthed into the world. But the father has to take on her pain and cradle her and try to protect her from all of these uncivilized mutts who are going at her. And while at the same time he has to grieve. More of his grieving, I believe, is internal, because he has to be strong as the man. He has to be strong, and he don't have the luxury of crying at will. He doesn't have the luxury of crying sporadically or impulsively, right?
And controlling his anger.
That's a heavy burden, bro. That's a heavy burden. So, Dad is going through it too, man. And
no doubt.
But it takes a really uncivilized mutt, to attack those people. And this is why I always say, when you're dealing with these uncivilized mutt, do not match their energy. Topple their energy. You got whatever they giving, you got to give it 1,000,000 times more, because they don't respect nothing else. These people are grieving. You think that you just pointing the finger at them, scolding them real harshly is gonna, impact the way that they go about being the uncivilized mutts they are? No. They got to feel some pain, man. They got to feel that contact, because they don't respect nothing else. The only reason why they do what they do is because they ain't getting that contact. They're not tough. You don't have to be tough to go online and give somebody a bad review who ain't never had a bad review.
From the nursing community, we're and nurses of all races are not happy about that. I work with a lot of nurses that's hot about that. That's extremely disrespectful. To go to the board of nursing and file a complaint, that's disgusting.
the board of the Mississippi Board of Nursing opened an investigation into Christine Wansley, and they got to know what's going on with this case, because this is the biggest case in Mississippi open. This is the biggest open case in Mississippi right now. So they got to know this is going on. Why would those uncivilized mutts open the case in the first place? Yeah, they dropped it, but what, they closed it, but why did they open it in the first place?
Well, I wish, well, by the state, if there's a complaint against someone, they have to open an investigation. That's just the law. That's anywhere.
So anybody can just come up with a, just complain. Anybody can just say, they can lie, they can say whatever, they can come up with any kind of old frivolous excuse and complaint, and they got to open up an investigation.
They have to investigate it to see, to determine its validity, right? But I just wish they would have kept it under closed doors, because so many nurses get investigated that never gets public knowledge.
Right. So why did
my issue that it went public, that she was being investigated? That could have been avoided. I mean, avoided altogether.
And that again underscores the demonic energy that's embedded in Mississippi officials. Because if I am at the Mississippi Board of Nursing and it comes across my desk, man, I ain't got to be the one with the power. If I'm just the one answering the phone, you got a complaint, kick rock, sucker. Click. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not finna bring no complaint against Christine Wansley while she's grieving for her child. Get out of here with that, man. We're not going, and I'm definitely not going public with it, right? So I think that the reason why they went public with it, I could be wrong, but I think that the reason why they went public with it is because a lot of them are the neighbors of the other uncivilized mutts, and they think the same way. And I think they opened the damn case and made it public just to humiliate her.
Yeah, or intimidation, because Christine and her husband have shown nothing but grace, intelligence, and just excellence, and they're going about it the right way. They're putting using the justice system to put things in place, if with civil litigation and things of that nature. So she's doing it the right way, and I encourage her and her husband to definitely keep their heads up and let her know the nurse community is 1,000,000% behind her. And we're definitely praying for her through this ordeal, because it's a nightmare. Yeah.
Did you see the video of some people in the community who went to the sheriff's office and the I think it was the medical examiner's office, and the sheriff and the DA office, and demanded justice for Nolan Wells? They had these signs that say "Justice for Nolan Wells." It was like, it was all kinds of people. It was really like a rainbow coalition of people out there, riding, mostly white folks, who was just saying justice for Nolan Wells.
Yeah.
So I think that was important for us to see that, because otherwise we would think that all of them were like that.
The thing is, as a society, we got to heal. And part of that, Willie, like you said earlier, is having real discussions, right? Those are the difficult conversations to have. And that's what most of society doesn't want to do, is that we got to learn. And until we all heal, we can't move forward to trust one another and to build a collaborative community. And that's going to be difficult, because things in the past on both sides. But we got to have those difficult conversations. And the conversations I have with people are just real ones. Yeah. Here's how I feel. Here's the pain or trauma you caused me, or caused, historically. And, I just need to make sure and discern that the people that are around me are the right people, regardless of what race they are. Like you said earlier, Fifth Ward was hurting Fifth Ward. We have to discern the people that are around us, regardless of culture, ethnicity, because culture is much more of a bigger issue than race. Race is just a construct. We all come from Africa. There's no human being that has ever lived that does not have African DNA.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Go to
That's
China,
for
you
all
can go
you,
anywhere. Yeah,
that's for
yeah.
all you, that's for all you East Asians out there. Yeah, I've been watching you. I've been looking at you. I've been hearing what y'all been saying about us, saying and hearing what you've been saying about your Asian Americans who might have a little mix in them, like Nolan did. Yeah, like Christine once. Yeah, I've been hearing what y'all been saying out there. Yeah, yeah. Just remember, just remember, ain't no such thing as a pure East Asian. You got some black in you. Yeah. How you feel about that? Make you mad? Do something about it.
I just think if people would look at and study true history, they would see that there's African tribes that look just like Chinese people over 70,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we know the DNA. And there was a man from South Carolina. I can't remember his name. I think it was something Floyd. But he had DNA that was over 200 something thousand years old.
Mm.
And it was Homo sapien. It wasn't Neanderthal.
Mm.
That's the oldest DNA we've ever discovered. Yeah. A black man from South Carolina. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're culturally different, but we're just a human race. That's literally what we are. Everybody's got a different tone, hue. You know, you might have more fast twitch muscle fibers and better bone density, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings. Just culturally, we've become separated from one another. And we've got to overcome that hurdle. People in Mississippi got to overcome that too. But it's going to having hard conversations, being held accountable for what we do, and being transparent and honest. Period. But you know, we got to fight. We got to fight against that infrastructure, man, because in many cases, it allows people the latitude to not have to be totally transparent on things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I absolutely respect and appreciate you coming on the show and being transparent and imparting your wisdom to my audience. I'm sure they can appreciate that also. So, hey man, you got the floor anytime you want to come on the show, man. You're welcome.
Willie, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you what you're doing for us. I appreciate your heart because you could be doing a lot of other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
You be doing things that are all in your self-interest, but you're doing things to try to help the community. And I appreciate you, man. Always.
All right. My man. Ladies and gentlemen, Nurse Charles. No more talk. We're going to keep it going, fam. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. I'm going into the comments and see what y'all saying over here. Let's see. Cheryl Peters. What's up? Tin Roof Vintage. I see you. Easter Wiley. Rachel. Chuck Diesel. I saw China Carter. China Carter. What's up, China? By the Spirit. FBA. Stand up. Sunshine. What's up, Kate Brown? Ray. Easy Q Universe. What it do? Easy Q Universe spelled my name, spelled D-E-E. You know, that's a long time fan. When I first started out, I spelled my name with two E's. I spelled it D-E-E. So that's a long time fan. I appreciate you. The Nutties, Sherry Crocker. What's up? What's up? Irene, appreciate you. Smoke Joke Comedy Room host. Yeah. What's up? What's up? Miss Udi. Sunshine Time. I see you. The Bella. Who was that? Juan. What's up, Juan? Delisa Bell. What's up, Delisa? Cindy? Only one. I see ETS. Bobby. What's up, Bobby? Nita B. That's my time, fam. I appreciate y'all joining live. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm gonna bring y'all more info, commentary on this Nolan Wells case, and there's a few other cases that are breaking that I'll be reporting on too. So stay tuned. Make sure you also support the T.J. Davis cases. That hadn't been getting a lot of press, but the T.J. Davis is a young black man who was found floating in the Mississippi River in Minnesota, in St. Paul, Minnesota, after hanging out with his 4 white friends. They came to his mama's house and picked him up. Next thing you know, a few hours later, he's floating in the Mississippi River, and somehow, some way, although he was the strongest swimmer among all of them, he drowned. To make matters worse and to add insult to injury, his mother had to watch a video of the boys or the men that he was with in the back seat of a cop car, joking and laughing as they was trying to fish his body out of the water. No arrests were ever made. It's been almost 5 years. That's what we're up against. No more talk.